Touchdown, Colorado! And the Buffaloes find the end zone.
How about that?
Beautiful shot so that Colorado can celebrate.
Here comes Ralphie and your Colorado Buffaloes.
She'll take it. Maya's good from out top.
Let me hear you, Buff fans.
She's going to fire the shot. Goal, Buffaloes.
Holy cow! What a play by Colorado! For 3, they made him pay.
Here's a big play for Neuer. Dimitri Stanley's going to take it to the house. Just what the doctor ordered for the Buffaloes offense, and they grab the lead.
Pure speed. Colorado came into this game thinking, hey, they've got a speed advantage on the outside, and you saw it right there.
Well, that was one of the more dynamic plays in that victory, 35-32 for the Buffaloes at Stanford before the bye week. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Buffalo Stampede. Voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson. You know, we're going to say the best for first here today. We got athletic director Rick George with us for a couple of minutes. How about your 2-0 football team right now?
It's exciting, you know. Expected, at least by me it was. But I'm really excited for them. You know, just the opportunity that they have to compete and to play, and they're doing it at a high level. No spring practice. They were told there was no football season, then there was, and then, you know, we've had some county orders that have slowed us down a little bit, and, you know, they're just resilient, and to see them have success in the first 2 games is great to see.
You know, we should say this, though, Rick, being that he says he's not surprised. Every year when we sit down before the season, he's always like, oh, we're going 12-0. There's no doubt about it.
No, I don't. I say we're going to win more than we lose.
He's always very optimistic. Let's just put it that way.
That's right.
So the Buffs didn't play this past weekend after Arizona State. It's not surprising if you see it happen around college football that somebody gets hit with COVID and then they can't play. So ASU could not play this past weekend. And I know there was a lot of hope amongst the Buff Nation out there that maybe the Buffs would play. Turns out we didn't play. Talk a little bit about kind of that decision.
Well, look, I applaud the decision that the conference made, and I think it's the right decision, and I think you'll see some of our schools that'll utilize that if there's not an option in the conference. Just the timing of when it was approved, it just doesn't give us enough time to prepare.
Sure.
And, you know, we've got a lot ahead of us. You know, we've got USC coming up. We've got Arizona, you know, we've got Utah. Yep. We've got a lot to play for moving forward, and we're excited about that. So that's kind of the reason, you know, that we didn't. But will we utilize it in the future if it becomes available to us? Absolutely.
Sure. Did you get a little bit of advice from fans emailing you and dropping you notes about what kind of decision you should be making?
I always get advice from fans, and I appreciate it.
You bet. You know, one of the odd things about this season, not only the fact that you have a game that was scheduled all of a sudden that doesn't happen, is the way we broadcast road games. And we had our cameras inside the Buff Vision control room before that Stanford game and taking a look at how we broadcast that radio broadcast that day.
Snap, fakes the handoff, he's going to run right in himself. Neuer got hit at the 1, dives, end zone, touchdown, Colorado.
Well, we're coming to you from the Buff Vision control room. Normally, we would be in a booth in sunny Palo Alto, California, at the Stanford Stadium calling the game. One of the challenges that we're facing is trying to get the sights and the sounds from each stadium sent to us, and we're using internet meeting technology. And it's a very odd thing to be reliant on something that people were only normally using for company meetings now to give us what we would normally be getting in person by hanging a microphone out a window. We're now getting it from a computer internet meeting service. None of the broadcast crews for the Pac-12 are traveling. They're all doing it from different locations. As a matter of fact, some of the people are doing it from their homes instead of in a control room like this. So each team has their own unique way of overcoming some of the COVID challenges that we're all facing. As a matter of fact, our unusual situation is that our color analyst, the famed coach Gary Barnett, he is home in Arizona, while Mark Johnson is here in the control room at the event center on the campus in Boulder. to call his side of the game, and we're listening to Gary via fantastic technology from his home in Arizona.
Certainly unique situations. We broadcast that ball game. Buffs getting ready to take on now USC, of course, this weekend as we continue with Rick George, the athletic director here at the University of Colorado. You know, we got basketball coming up this week. Both the men's and women's teams in action, and I know you're very optimistic about both of those as well.
I'm very optimistic about both of those. You know, I'm excited about what that'll bring us. I know JR's excited. They get to play at home on Wednesday, and really excited to be able to see them. And then, you know, Tad and the boys kick off or tip off, I guess I should say, in Manhattan on Wednesday. And again, it just goes. I'm really thrilled that our student athletes can compete. They've worked hard. They've done what we've asked them to do. They've followed protocols, all those different things to allow them to compete. And now this is their opportunity to shine, and I'm really looking forward to both teams.
You know, Rick, one thing that you're touching on kind of as disciplined as the student athletes have been, we've seen not only around the state but around the country as well, kind of a heightened sense moving into different colors and raising the expectations, if you will. That creates new challenges from an athletic department standpoint, doesn't it?
Well, it does, and I think for us, you know, the consistency of our protocols have been excellent, and you know, we just continue to follow those protocols, and then as changes come in orders, then we adjust. We've got a really good team that's focused on that, and look, our you know, you can have the best protocols in the world, but if your student athletes and your coaches and your staff aren't following, they do no good. And so I give a lot of credit to the discipline of our student athletes, our coaches, and our staff in adhering to what those protocols are.
You know, I don't think we've talked in any official capacity on one of our shows about Miguel Rueda and the medical staff and the job they've done laying out the protocols and kind of guiding us through this.
Yeah, I mean, Miguel's a superstar. I mean, he's done an incredible job. Dr. Podar, I mean, all of our trainers now are almost like lab technicians because we're testing every single day. So they're doing the testing, and, you know, they're putting in a lot of hours and a lot of time. And, you know, I just applaud what they've done. And, you know, our focus is the health and safety of our student athletes, our coaches, and our staff, and our community.
All right, well, keep up the great work.
Thanks. Go Buffs.
All right, that's Athletic Director Rick George. As we continue here in the Buffalo Stampede, with basketball getting underway this week, we're going to talk some hoops for the Buffaloes coming up next. Gets it up to Bay on his way to the hoop. Goes up strong, hit from behind. Oh, the follow jam by McKinley Wright. Holy cow, what a play following down court. And the Buffaloes knock off the number 4 ranked team in the country, 74-65 here in Boulder. That was a great highlight from a big play and a big victory for the Buffaloes last season in men's basketball as they knocked off the Oregon Ducks. Back in the Stampede, voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson. Got some big basketball news here just a couple of days ago. Early second round, Tyler Bay, the 6'8" forward for the Buffaloes, drafted by the Philadelphia 76ers. Ultimately, in a deal, was traded to the Dallas Mavericks, so yet another Buff in the National Basketball Association. Of course, a lot of excitement as we're about ready to get the basketball seasons underway. Tad Boyle entering his 10th season with the Buffaloes. J.R. Payne, her 5th, and they'll get their season underway on Wednesday. Got a very exciting group of 6 new players for the women's team. For Tad Boyle and the Buffaloes, you got maybe the best point guard in the country, McKinley Wright, coming back. A lot of veterans, Deshaun Schwartz, Dallas Walton, Evan Batty. The Buffs will open up the season on the road. In fact, going back to Big 12 country, they'll take on South Dakota on Wednesday in the Little Apple Classic in Manhattan, Kansas, and then the day after Thanksgiving, in fact, they'll take on renew acquaintances with the Wildcats of Kansas State. Just a few days ago, we had a chance to sit down at a Buff Bells event with both Tad Boyle and J.R. Payne and talk about the upcoming season. Basketball's been delayed in some regard as well. I guess it was delayed, then it wasn't delayed. It was brought back earlier than we thought it was going to be. But how's this whole unusual transition been for you?
Yeah, it's definitely just been a whirlwind, you know, I think for everybody. From our last game in March in Las Vegas to expecting to play postseason, and then all of a sudden it was canceled, and then everybody went home, and you know, and then we spent all those months apart, which has been the most difficult thing for me. You know, we love to spend time with our players, certainly on the court, but a lot of time off the court, you know, during our off season. So that's been really challenging. But, you know, as sort of a philosophy, we're just taking it one day at a time. You know, I sort of just always use the phrase, just roll with the punches. Yeah. And if we can do that and just stay positive, I'm very hopeful that we're going to have a great season. We have to be game ready. We have to be in shape. But we also are a little bit undertrained because we didn't have an entire off season. So trying to make sure we plow ahead as quickly as we can safely. We've seen some injuries in the NFL and some injuries in other sports that have jumped back, and we're trying to be as cognizant of that as we can.
I've coached now for, I think, at the Division I level for 26 years, and what just keeps coming back to me year in and year out, no matter what the situation, is how resilient young men are and young women. I mean, young people are very resilient, and I couldn't be more proud of a group of young men that I've ever coached than I am of these guys in terms of how they've handled all of the ups and downs and the unknowns and the uncertainties and the disappointments that they've had to experience since March 11th to now. And I'm just so hopeful that we can have a season and have a successful season, because nobody deserves it more than our players.
Well, it's great to have basketball back. Talking with Tad Boyle and J.R. Payne. The women will open up on Wednesday against Western State. That's a home game. And then on Saturday, they've got Air Force coming to the event center. And once again, the men in that Little Apple Classic in Manhattan taking on South Dakota and Kansas State. Coming up next in the Buffalo Stampede, we're going to talk some football. We'll be joined by defensive line coach Chris Wilson, talking 2-0 Buffaloes next.
In this first half.
That was Terrence Lang bringing the heat, and a big hit again from Terrence. He picked the right gap to fill, and it's 4th down.
There we get some great images. One of the defensive linemen for the Buffaloes, Terrence Lang, making some big plays defensively. Yeah, the Buffs 35-32 win over Stanford. Back in the Stampede. Voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson. Defensive line coach Chris Wilson joining us here for a couple of minutes. Well, first off, 2-0. I mean, that's exactly where you guys want to be. You kind of excited about what we've seen from your Buffs defense so far?
So far so good. These guys have really done a great job of coming in and learning. And that's one thing I've been really pleased about. These guys come in, they're working their tails off, and I was really surprised at how high the football IQ is with some of these guys. So I'm really excited about that. And again, we're in great position with a lot of room to go.
Chris, when you got here, and again, you came in during kind of this rough transition for Carl and the rest of the staff, you get here, you really can't get your hands on your guys, but you know that you've got some veteran guys out there. You got T. Lang, who we just saw, Mustafa, and guys like that, and then a lot of youth behind them. Initially, what was your kind of sense once you evaluated everything about the material you had to work with here in 2020?
Well, I believe we had talent. We had a chance to watch them a little bit in the offseason and saw they move around. And we've had some athleticism. We've got some size. Now we just needed to see kind of who we were. And a lot of times you don't know that until the first month of the season. But what I have seen is these guys' willingness to go out and work and compete. And that gives you a chance every week, because they've got some traits, obviously, that correlate, but their work ethic and their ability to learn has really been key for us.
You and I've talked before about, you want that natural size. A guy like Mustafa Johnson, he doesn't fit that mold.
Absolutely.
But he's got a unique skill set, doesn't he?
He does. He's got some dominant traits. He's explosive. He has the ability, which is unique to defeat a block and still be able to track the football. And that's a very unique trait in a lot of guys. A lot of guys can win one-on-ones but can't finish on the football. And he's shown that these last couple of weeks.
Well, the Buffaloes are 2-0. They had a nice victory at Stanford on the road. Of course, it's an off week. We'll talk with Chris about that. We were in the locker room, though, in Stanford before the ball game and heard from head coach Carl Durrell.
Man, it doesn't matter where we play, baby. When we play on the field, when we get going and the ball gets kicked off, unleash your rhythm on everybody. Understand the game plan. Understand what we do. Only thing we need to concern ourselves of is us. Yes, sir. Let's orchestrate our execution on offense, on defense, on special teams. All this, the same formula that got us success last week. Focus in on those things, okay? You'll settle in. We'll know what they're doing. You guys just do your job and rely on your teammate to do his. Focus on that. You guys got to be accountable for each other. Everybody does their job. Everybody does their job. We walk out of here with a victory. Yes, you got that? Yes, sir. Go out there and have fun. Turn it loose, baby. Let's go. Play like Buffalo, baby. Play like Buffalo.
That's head coach Carl Durrell before the victory for the Buffaloes in Palo Alto. We continue with defensive line coach here, Chris Wilson. I want to get to Terrence Lang real quick. He's one of those guys, Chris, that when he walked on campus, you thought, oh, my goodness, he looks the way they're supposed to look. Some people said he had that young Alfred Williams kind of physique about him. What's been your sense with him and what his potential might be?
Well, I tell you, he does have NFL quality traits from a physical standpoint. Great size, great length, really good athleticism for a man his size. And the thing right now is just cleaning up his traits and cleaning up his skill set. And again, he's a young guy who's really learning more and more about himself. But I'm excited about what Terrence has done so far and his work ethic week to week.
How has it been here? I don't know what your relationship with Carl was before he came on as a head coach and brought you in along the D-line, but working with Carl and kind of give fans a sense of what it's like working on his staff.
You know, very knowledgeable, very even keel, has great intellect in regards to how to win football games and develop a program. And that's been the biggest thing. You want to be around guys who get it. And Carl definitely understands that. How you build a program is from the foundation, which we're building right now. And then we work on the small things that a lot of people in some programs may or may not do.
How about a week like last week? So here the Buffs are 2-0. You're playing some good football. You got momentum going. And then all of a sudden, I guess we expected that in this season, there's no game last weekend. That's a tough situation. All of a sudden, to have that bye, isn't it?
It's a unique time for everybody.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is no one has an advantage.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody's in the same scenario. So we just kind of go and control the controllables.
Yeah. And a good week for the Buffs to heal up a little bit. Give us a quick thought. I know it's early, but this USC team, you know how talented USC is all the time, and that'll certainly be a challenge for Colorado.
Yes, they're an athletic program. When you look at their skill, they've got skill across the board. They are really talented up front, and they do a good job of putting their players in great situations. So it'll be a challenge, but one we're looking forward to and excited about.
All right, looking forward to it. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, defensive line coach Chris Wilson. He and the Buffaloes on the road against USC. Coming up next, we're going to talk, continuing with the defensive conversation. Demetrius Martin will join us next.
Got to deal with Nate Landman, the top defender for the Buffs, and that's knocked away. Incomplete Mekhi Blackman.
That was a great defensive play by number 25, Mekhi Blackman, of the Buffs victory, 35-32 over the Stanford Cardinal a couple of weeks ago in Palo Alto. Back at the Stampede, voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson, corners coach Demetrius Martin joining us for a couple of minutes. That was a heck of a play by number 25, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, it was. He stayed patient with the process,
right,
played the technique, and then found the ball and made a play at the time we needed it. Fourth down stop, big time.
You guys have had some ups and downs, let's put it that way, in that secondary. Some growing pains, if you will.
Sir.
Talk a little bit about how those corners are kind of coming along for you.
Really, they're coming along just right on time.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is master the techniques with the communications and all that kind of stuff within the scheme of the defense. These guys are playing really hard. They're very physical, very smart. It's just that, the different tools that I'm giving them to use in their tool belt, may cause, without the spring, makes it a little hard for them. Yeah.
Well, you think of a few years ago here for the Buffs, and we had guys like Isaiah Oliver, Nikello Witherspoon, and Chidobe Awuzie. Those were veteran guys. And Demetrius, as I like to say, football at this level is a harsh teacher for young players, isn't it?
Yes, sir. No doubt. You can't count experience. You can't count out experience. And the experience that these guys are getting and being in the situation that we're in is priceless. The guys are on the job learning as we go, and it's good stuff.
Tell us a little bit about Christian Gonzalez. I mean, you look at him, and boy, he passes the eye test.
Yes, sir.
I mean, he looks like they're supposed to look out there. Tell me how he's coming along.
He's coming along really fine. Obviously, the learning curve for him is really steep without having a spring ball, just coming in as a true freshman, so he's learning on the run. He's one of those guys that's been a gifted athlete all his life.
Yeah.
So in high school, things may have come easy for him, and it looks like he doesn't work as hard right now. But he's getting it. He understands the level in which it needs to be.
And the other thing we know in this league with veteran coaches, we've faced a couple here with Chip Kelly and David Shaw. They know there's a first-year starter out there. They're going to test those guys early, aren't they?
No doubt. He's going to get a lot of action, whether he's ready for it or not, in coverage or beat. He's going to get the ball thrown his way. So he's starting to understand that, and he's welcoming the challenge.
So the Buffaloes are 2-0, and we were in the locker room after the victory at Stanford with head coach Carl Durrell.
Great job. It's hard to win. Yeah. It's hard, okay? And we won. Was it pretty like what Sam said? No. But we can be a better team. We know that, okay? But I know we're 2-0, back to 0-0 on Monday. We're going to be 1-0 next week. So we still got to take care of ourselves, make sure, just like what we've been doing, stay the course, man. Stay the course. Make sure you guys are doing a great job taking care of your health. Man, I'm proud of you because we hung in there. That was a team win. Yes, sir. That was a team win. We hung in there. I'm so proud of you guys because you know what? Don't you feel we got something special going on here?
Yes, sir.
Don't you feel that?
Yes, sir.
So let's keep riding it. Let's keep getting better, okay? And let's keep rolling those W's as we go.
Let's
Well, that's the 2-0 Colorado Buffaloes. Carl Durrell after the victory in Palo Alto as we continue with Demetrius Martin, corners coach for the Buffaloes. Overall, defensively, did you see the Buffs make some strides getting better from week 1 to week 2?
Yes, sir, we did. I think we tackled a lot better, things are such like that. We communicated a lot better in the back end, just trying to make sure we don't give up stuff, give people things, make them earn everything. So we are getting better in those aspects.
Sitting at 2-0, victory over UCLA, then a road victory over Stanford, and then in a year like this, you knew it was probably going to happen at some point in time where COVID was going to hit with the opposition. No game last week against Arizona State, and so there's a pause in the season. How do you think you guys handled that all of a sudden with no game? It was kind of a bye week almost for you guys.
Yes, we took it as that. Coach Durrell and his philosophy, his NFL philosophy of keeping the team ready and keeping that engine well-oiled and going was very helpful, I think, for this week that we just had. The bye week, we got to be able to get mentally sharp, technically sharp, and then just kind of home in on us and worry about us, and then now we get ready for the next opponent.
One thing you guys as a coaching staff have got to do, because all of a sudden there was free time for these guys, and they need to understand, right? And I know you guys talked to them about it, making sure the nose is to the grindstone. We're not letting down just because we didn't have a game last weekend.
Oh, yes, no doubt. I mean, shoot, actually it heightens. I mean, we didn't have an on-field opponent, but we had an off-field opponent being in COVID. So, it even made us lock in even more to kind of be like, hey, man, it's all about us, and if we want to, do what our goals are set out to do, we got to lock in and be together with it.
Now this upcoming weekend, it's USC in Los Angeles. Anytime you face the Trojans, you're going to be facing some very good athletes, right?
Yes, sir. No doubt. They're a very talented team, probably ranked up there as the highest in the Pac-12 as far as a group of receivers. They got a good quarterback, and, all their other positions are very talented also. So, we got our challenge cut out for us, but we're going to show up.
Well, the Buffaloes are undefeated. That's Demetrius Martin. As we put a wrap this week in the Buffalo Stampede, it's Colorado on the road in Los Angeles to take on the Trojans of USC. I'm voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.